Hello everyone, happy Friday. Hope you all are doing well. What is going on? So welcome. We are here. It is a Friday stream. As you can see, Miss Bandita is hanging out on her little spot. Oh, little yawn. So before we get into everything, I will just give you all a quick little Bandit update because, as you may know, she was quite sick the week before Easter. She had to have emergency surgery, and today was her final sort of post-surgery checkup blood analysis thing, and I got a voicemail message from the vet a couple hours ago, and they told me that everything is looking good. So as far as I know, knock on wood, we are in the clear. Bandit is okay, and she's more or less back to her normal self. No more blue medical onesie, no more cone, regular diet. She is a little bit underweight from having the surgery and being really ill for several days, so we're working on getting the calories in and getting her energy levels like all the way back, but otherwise she's doing great. So if you had any concerns about Bandita, don't worry. Why is this showing why is this not automatically scrolling? That is weird. Do I need to like resynchronize it or something because I changed the window size or something? 1 second here. I don't know if that's happened before, so that's interesting. Is it not synchronizing? That is very strange. What happens if I get to that point here and then I do this? Does it sync? No. Okay, that is so weird. Why is it doing that? Because then what's the point of having my chat on the screen if it doesn't scroll with it? Like, it's showing it like it's frozen or something. Here, I'm gonna just close it and reopen it again, because why not? Might also, maybe there's like a different link or something that pops up after I go live. Maybe that's a new thing YouTube is doing. That's also a possibility. That could always happen. All right, while I'm figuring this out, I will give you all the 411 on the stream situation. So if you haven't been here before, this is what you need to know about the stream. So here on the channel every Friday at around 6 p.m. we stream for a couple hours and we do a little interactive viewer Q&A, and usually I put a couple of ideas for things that we could chat about in the title, just what's been on my brain lately, what I've been thinking about, and I oftentimes will bring those things up, but it is really whatever you all want to ask about, whether it's questions about navigating stuff in a relationship or kink advice or stuff about polyamory or questions you have for me for whatever purpose. That is what y'all can ask. I try to answer in the order that questions come in. We have a new feature here on YouTube where if you go to the pinned white box, it says put your questions here. If you put your question there, it'll like silo it and make it save for all of time for what's happening now. The chat isn't scrolling for me for some reason, so I can't see new messages. So yeah, great reign of blood panel, Evie. Thanks for having us along. Lots of great stuff on sharps and bottoming in general. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's what I was doing earlier today. I was part of an online conference called Reign of Blood. I was on a bottom panel that was, I wish we had more time. I feel like we could have definitely done at least another half an hour. And it was just nice to get to participate in that. And there are classes and other panels happening for the rest of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you would like to participate in that, I have put a couple of posts up on the, I don't even know what YouTube calls that section. I like the social section. There's a section of my YouTube channel page where like I can post things and link to stuff, and it's in there. So if you want to check that out, you can. To be very clear, people seem to be confused about this. It's not my event. I'm not running it. I am not affiliated with Reign of Blood in any kind of professional capacity. It is just an online event that I attend, and this year I'm also on one of the panels, and that's it. So I don't run any of the ticketing, recording, emailing, scheduling. None of that is me. I don't know about any of that. I'm not the person to ask about that. I am just as clued in as most of the rest of you are on that front. So don't ask me those things, because I probably don't have an answer unless I can link something in a public website somewhere. But yeah, Reign of Blood is fantastic if you like Edgeplay and sharps and things that normally don't get a lot of coverage just on the general kink internet, and especially not the regular internet. Oh my god. I guess maybe there's people who do like ritual, spiritual hook pull things, but that's also not very common. I do not know what is going on with my chat here today. This is truly a mystery to me. I don't know. Maybe... No, it's just not doing anything. That is so weird. Okay. Well, I don't know what to do about that. Normally I watch... This is why it's a problem. Normally I watch the chat on this. Within OBS. As opposed to having to go back and forth between both of them. So that sucks. And now I don't know what to do. Oh, thank you, Tuxie, for the 5 gifted memberships, and welcome to our new members. So we do also have memberships. They are so you can use emotes in the chat, because for some reason YouTube has decided that in order to have access to emotes, you have to have people that subscribe to your channel as members. It's 99 cents. So if you would like to become a member and have access to those emotes, it is as cheap as YouTube will let me make it. And then you get to use cute little emotes that look like me and my dog, and they're adorable, and I hope you all love them because I love them. And really, they're just a great time. So we got little Miss Snoozy Princess hanging out over there, doing her snoozy thing. And welcome all the new members. So let's see, other things. 18 plus only. Read the rules. I have an FAQ and some rules down below. They're really simple. Basically, listen to me, listen to the mods, be respectful, don't spam the chat. Like, if you ask the same question 10 times in a row to be like, what's your favorite color of toenail polish? I'm not going to answer it, because you spammed it 10 times in a row, and I don't encourage that behavior by answering those questions. So I will give people an option when we get to the very end of the stream. I'll give you all a 15-minute warning, so it'll give you the best shot of having your question answered if I didn't get to it yet. And you can also use a super chat if you want to make sure I answer it, or you can go through Streamlabs, which is linked down below, or if you want to know for sure that I got your question, you can put it in the white box up there. And as far as I know, I haven't had any issues with YouTube eating a message in there, but you know, you guys can't see what's in there. So it is a black box for you. But if you would like to have feedback from other people in our community, I put it in the regular chat just because other people are going to also contribute their thoughts. And welcome, Lexi. Hope you are doing well. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I wish I could see all of the chat, but it's not letting me do that. So that's frustrating. All right, I'm going to try one more thing. I don't know if there's a... Here, oh, I can send feedback. Oh, it wants me to capture a screenshot. Never mind, I'll do that later. Oh, that's not the right thing at all. Let's see, chat. All right, and might have fixed it. Oh, I fixed it. Yay. I don't really know how I did that, but I fixed it. Just click some new different buttons and it seemed like it worked. Awesome. Okay, now I can focus on the task at hand. Oh my. Uh-oh. Oh no, new side effect. That sucks. Recovering from grocery shopping, yeah. I pretty much only do grocery pickup orders because I hate having to go in person to a grocery store, and I feel like that's a great way to save time and also make sure you're getting the best deals. Having to deal with post-adrenaline from a bad storm. Glad to hear she's doing well. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you stayed safe during the storm. We actually had... So for people who don't know, if you're from other parts of the country, the Pacific Northwest in particular never, ever, ever has thunder or lightning. Like, I can count on, in the years that I have lived here, probably, over the course of my life, because I lived here before when I was a little kid too, maybe like 5 or 6 times ever hearing thunder, and very rarely seeing lightning. I think I've seen lightning like maybe twice. But we had thunder a couple days ago, and then we had hail, and then it was sunny, and then it got stormy again. It was very weird. But a little tiny itsy bitsy, like, I don't even know like what size to describe it, like a Dippin' Dot, sized amount of hail, but a lot of it, just very small pieces, thankfully, because they can actually cause a lot of property damage. So that was good. That was about as extreme as the weather gets here, other than it being very cold. Unrelated, but every time Evie has mentioned Clavicular on the Patreon stream, something bad has happened shortly after. First he was arrested, next he overdosed. Yeah, I have a personal voodoo doll of just Clavicular. To be fair, I guess everything in Clavicular's life is a bad thing happening to him. It's sad because it's very true. Unfortunately for poor old Clavicular, I could psychoanalyze Clavicular all day. I find him individually, he's not necessarily unique. He's just a good representative sample of a type of guy who just happens to put himself very out there. And from the way he speaks and how he comes across in interviews, and I'm like pretty confident that he's neurodivergent, like he's talked about that before. So I am adding a 20% autism discount to my analysis of his behavior and how he comes across. But he's said things that make it seem like, and he's answered questions that make it seem like he hates his life. He doesn't really have any solid positive direction. He's just trying to build status and is like not even in the moment in a positive way. Like there's being in the moment in sort of a conscious awareness, sort of Buddhist way where it's about, you know, just staying in the now, and like that's positive. But like he does not have any long-term game plan for his life, because I think he just is the kind of kid who grew up and probably had a lot of mood disorder issues and just doesn't see a purpose in living longer than probably like 35 or 40, and is just like, well, I don't need to think about what I'm doing beyond kick or why I'm doing this because I'm gonna be fucking dead. And it turns out, well, he overdosed, and then I think was in like stable condition. I think he's probably okay. But a lot of people like that just don't like living and do not live in a way that preserves their life. And honestly, I'm shocked that something hasn't happened sooner to him, with how often his content revolves around like going to the club and partying and doing like crazy stunts, and just it's all very sad. And probably even more sad that there's so many people who are, although I don't actually know, I think people have said that Clavicular is popular amongst young people, and I think we knew that with Andrew Tate, right? Like Andrew Tate, there were teachers that were like, my first grade students are talking to each other about Andrew Tate. That maybe is a little bit hyperbolic, but like elementary school teachers were talking online about like, hey, do you guys know who this Andrew Tate guy is? Because all the boys in my 3rd grade class keep quoting him and saying really weird stuff, and like it seems unnerving. Is it just me? And then there's a bunch of teachers who are like, yeah, it happened to us too. Like our kids are talking about this in our classes. It's unsettling. But with Clavicular, I think we've all just sort of assumed that he has a lot younger of an audience, that he's very influential. But I haven't heard any stories of teachers or somebody or like an authority figure or parents being like, oh my god, all the kids want to be just like Clavicular. Like I don't know if he's as much of a role model, which is probably a good thing, because I mean Andrew Tate did a lot of very fucked up stuff on stream and just in general in his content. But from what I know, he he wasn't like going to the club and doing hard drugs on stream. Like he was like maybe smoking a cigar. So as far as influence is concerned, like, you know, Andrew Tate is worse 9 times out of 10, but there is an edge case where Clavicular is worse. Especially because there's a big part of it that's like related to drugs specifically, which is very, very concerning. Have we actually already verified that the fan is on camera? Yes. I had it on earlier today. It is on. Thank you. And now I just checked because I'm paranoid because it unplugs itself because it has the worst attachment mechanism known to man. But it's the only fan I have, so it's what we're going with. But yes, it is on. It's working. It's middle schoolers. My sister says they talk about it. Okay. Well, at least he's hitting an older age demographic. Not that much better, to be clear. But at least the 6-year-olds aren't being exposed to Clavicular. I'm trying to find any silver lining that I can at all. I know some pills I think they should take. Yeah, I wonder which ones, Lexi. Yeah, I personally think he used his like meth addiction as stealing meth addiction valor. I actually don't, now that I've had some time to think about it, I actually don't think that Clavicular ever did meth regularly because he's a looks maxer, and when you take a lot of meth for a long time, it definitely like fucks up your body, and I think that would go against his whole thing. So probably not. He's probably addicted to other stuff, but I have seen people say stuff to the effect of like, oh yes, the famously very cishet activity of having a meth problem, and well, there are some indications that Clavicular grew up in a very different set of circumstances, possibly different upbringing, different parents, who knows, that instead of becoming obsessed with looks maxing, he might just not be cis. He might just like explore gender as opposed to research chemicals. I don't know. It's a really weird world we live in. Yeah, speaking of fan, we already hit 90 several times this week in mid-April. It's awful. Oh my gosh, I'm very sorry, Twixie. We have had a handful of days, like 4 or 5 days, where it's been a 70 or above, and then it went right back down, and now it's rainy, and then it stormed, and then now it's like, it's 58 right now, actually. That's the exact temperature. And it's going to be possibly 68 degrees this weekend. I know. Portland getting wild with the weather over here. It's getting toasty. Actually, my preferred climate is between 65 and 80. And if I could be in a place where it's that temperature half of the year, I would be ecstatic. The leather pill. I don't think Clavicular, okay. Not, again, I don't know. Just based on his whole vibe, I do not get the impression that he likes having sex with women. I don't think he likes having sex. I don't think he likes being intimate with other people. I don't think he likes probably being touched. Like, he just gives, like, major, like, zone of do not touch me vibes and energy and stuff. Like, I can't even picture him, like, dancing at a club with like a hand on a girl's waist. Like that just, I can't picture it. It's not there. So I highly doubt that he would have the capacity to do anything kink related or would enjoy it. I think homie would probably love just being an asexual that like, maybe, what if he joined Tumblr? What if instead of joining the bodybuilder forums, he got on Tumblr and got really into Super Hulag and really got into My Little Pony and just was like a little weird, but found people that were like him and found a community that didn't steer him to an overdose. I think he needs to figure out his identity as a whole. I mean, yeah, and it sucks because I think there are, not to this extreme, but most people that are in his age range between, let's say, like 17 and 24 are very much in the process of figuring out who they are, what they want from life on a basic level. A lot of people, they come back to that question, they find it out later in life. But I remember being around that age and being 18, 19 and not having any idea of who I was or what I wanted from life or what direction I was going to go in. Because up to that point, it had very much been I'm good at school and I like these subjects, so I'm just gonna stay on this track and do school and research and major in something that I find interesting. And I never really had a good chance of developing my own identity, and I had to do that when I was 18, 19, 20 before I got into the kink scene. And I can't imagine it was hard enough doing it during college, just being in massive groups of people most of the time, versus streaming it on Kik for an audience because that's my source of income. And then whatever fake personality I put on for the camera molds into my actual personality. That just seems terrible. That seems nightmarish. But, I also didn't decide to become a Kik streamer, so, skill issue, I suppose. Dude is looking at possible prison time, so he'll either get much better or much worse. I think I actually don't know. I actually don't know how he would. I don't think he would do well in prison. I gotta be honest. I don't. He doesn't have the charisma for doing well in prison. He's the antithesis of the old school pickup artists. Y'all remember the OG pickup artist guys, Mystery, whoever, where they would look fucking weird. They would wear big fucking weird hats, and they would be really into magic tricks or something. They would have a kooky bit to attract the attention of women. And they would either by force develop or naturally had and improved upon some kind of charisma in order to elevate their chances of having sex with women. And that was very much the goal, was to rack up as many notches in the bedpost as possible. Whereas Clavicular, absolutely no charisma of wet paint, nothing's going on there, not that great at stringing even just one sentence together that's not why didn't you ask me more about my stack, why didn't you could have asked me more questions about this. And then when you ask him okay, well then if you want me to ask about your stack, what do you think is the most important supplement that you take? Then he's well, I don't know, it just sort of depends on what your goals are, right? And it's absolutely the most vapid conversation humanly imaginable. So no charisma, can't talk to anybody, and just comes across as an asexual Patrick Bateman is the vibe. And I don't mean asexual in an identity kind of way. I mean in the way that a sponge is asexual. That's what I mean. So I'm not saying that my community claims him. I'm saying that I believe he is more likely to reproduce by mitosis or whatever than he is to do it by actually reproducing with a woman. Also, I would be shocked if he hasn't accidentally gotten somebody pregnant, because he keeps saying he's infertile. I don't think he knows what infertile means. I don't think he knows what it means to be infertile, because it doesn't mean sterile. Anyways, I think that's enough Clavicular talk. Which way Western hat enthusiast, Mystery or Jamiroquai? I think both are good options. Honestly, anything. I would take anything. I am so over anti-cringe stuff. I am so over people policing. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older, or maybe this is actually really meeting a point of, okay, can we agree this is too much? I am so over anything around that wearing clothes like that is cringe, doing your makeup that way is cringe, acting this way is cringe, having this tone of voice is cringe, using this word is cringe. I'm so done. Just allow yourself to have whimsy, not because you're trying to follow a TikTok whimsy core aesthetics where you paint your wall with your bare hands and you do clown inspired face makeup because you watch 10 tutorials of somebody else do it. No, none of that. No paint by numbers type shit because you're following an aesthetic trend on the internet. But genuinely unironically, enthusiastically liking shit that you like, that is what is so good about life. Really, honestly, fully, wholly, I think that is the key to happiness in life, is giving yourself the permission to just fucking like the things that you enjoy unapologetically. And I don't mean you need to strike up a conversation with everybody you see ever and tell them about My Little Pony. Don't do that, please. But find like-minded people. Be in community with people that share that interest. Get the fucking figurine. Go to the convention. Wear the brony t-shirt to the grocery store. You only live once. You're only young once. Do it while you can. Have fun with it. Car alarms are going off outside for some reason, so now my brain's distracted and interrupted my thought. But just realize it's okay to be cringe. Oh my god. I hope that what will happen is the dynamics around cringe will change, because that's very much a Gen Z thing, is to over police what everyone else is doing on social media and be like, oh my god, that's so cringe. I hope Gen Alpha comes up and like is like, why are you guys being so fucking weird? Like, I just hope that I hope Gen Alpha is like not carrying on the cringe banner, because that would be really sad. Embrace your cringe and erase the parts of yourself that cringes. Yeah. And I think, not to get all psychological about it, but if you notice a cringe response, especially towards yourself, I think if it's towards other people, it's a little different circumstances happening there. But if you feel cringe toward yourself and what you're doing, I think it's worth to investigate why you have that reaction. Like, is this a reaction of like, oh, I'm being cringy and that makes me feel uncomfortable? Is that purely because of a fear of judgment of others? Or is it because it conflicts with your sense of self, and like, does that maybe need to change a little? Like, if you're a more traditional masculine manly man and, you know, I don't know, I feel like cringe is like oftentimes directed at women or men with like feminine hobbies. I don't know. Maybe you're a masculine manly man and you go to the coffee shop and you get a matcha latte and you unironically actually really like it, and you're like, this is awesome, I want to order this all the time. And then you're like, oh no, that's like cringy. Is it cringy because you're worried of other people trying to take away your masculinity card because you had a girly beverage and not like black coffee? Is it worrying that conflicts with your sense of self? Like, what's going on there? Okay, I think in most cases you can either just, one, expand your sense of self to incorporate this facet of who you are, or two, realize that for the most part, those other people don't matter. And if it's somebody who's like your spouse, your partner, your best friend, and you're worried about their judgment, hopefully if they are really your best friend, if you are really life partners, they already know you really well. And if they do make fun of you about it or rib you about this new interest or new thing that you're doing, it's going to be good-natured. It's going to be in, like, when you've known someone for a really long time and they change something, it's like, oh, man, what's up with that? Like, we're wearing hats now? Like, you can, that's like a safe space to have, not even a cringe reaction, but just sort of like a, I'm recognizing something about you is different and we're making a joke out of it kind of thing. And if they are good people in your life, like, they're not gonna fucking stop being friends with you because you did something cringe on the internet or did something cringy with your makeup or your clothing that day. Like, it's so temporary. Who gives a fuck? Oh my god, you live your lives. Anyways, that's my cringe soapbox. I'm so over it. Come on, y'all. We just, like, the era of internet privacy is increasingly ending. Things are not looking great in terms of freedom of expression on the internet in general, and that's going to be really hard to get back if things go the way that they might. So just, embrace it while it's still there. Honestly, I hate black coffee. I need French vanilla creamer to drink it. I do not drink any caffeine anything. Actually, okay, I have a story. I shocked myself with my fridge. I don't even know you could get static cling and discharge from a fridge. It's crazy. So I don't even know how to like explain this story, but I like, because it's so fucking dark and depressing here for so much of the year, and my apartment in particular stays really dark. Like, I only get like a couple of hours of very early morning, like basically sunrise until like 8 a.m. is when I get any kind of direct sun into my apartment. So I don't get a lot of direct sunlight. So that means I'm tired a lot. And I don't want to drink coffee. I don't need to have that habit. I don't really like coffee. I've occasionally had caffeinated tea, but like I don't really like enjoy that too much either. Like, I just wanted something else. So I got this thing called, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's paraxathine. And first of all, I'm not telling you to get this, and you're going to understand why. This is not an endorsement. I just randomly bought these at like a vitamin supplement store. But this is the primary metabolite of caffeine in your liver. And it's supposed to last about half as long as traditional coffee caffeine does in your system, but is like 1.5 or like twice as energy efficient as caffeine is. Like, it gives you a lot more energy. So I got this thinking I could just take a dose when I very first wake up in the morning, and then that would get me through the worst part of the darkness of the day. While it's oftentimes still really cloudy because it hasn't warmed up yet, so the clouds haven't burned off, yada yada. So I took a dose of this, and I apparently, and I keep forgetting this because I very rarely have caffeine. The only time I have caffeine is if I am taking sips of somebody else's energy drink because we're doing something that requires us to be out later or at a weird time or something. So I very rarely have even the equivalent of like a full cup of coffee, like maybe like once or twice a year. So I take this, and then I can't fall asleep until 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm laying in bed trying to sleep. I've been in bed since like probably at least 2 a.m. and I cannot shut my eyes. I toss, I turn, and I never have problems falling asleep. I'm a pretty good solid sleeper, not to brag. It's one of my skills. But I just could not fall. So I got up. I was like, what do I even do at 5 a.m.? What do I even do with this? Like, I can't sleep. What do I do? So I made myself some butter noodles because I was hungry, and then I did dishes. I loaded the dishwasher. I did some laundry. Like, I was just like, I guess I don't know what I'm, because I don't want to get too into anything, because I was like, well, if I start like writing or something, I'm gonna like focus on it. I'm not gonna be able to sleep. So I can't sleep for like a whole day. I fall asleep at like 7 a.m. and I don't wake up until like afternoon, which is terrible. And then I still had trouble falling asleep last night. So I basically got wired from like one dose of this for like 48 hours. It like fucked me up so bad. Like, I really wanted to sleep today, and I still couldn't fall asleep until probably 4 o'clock. And then I woke up at 8 and was like bright awake. I was like, this is not good for my body. I'm not getting enough rest. Even though I feel awake, like, I understand now what people mean. I never got this before, but now I understand what people mean when they say that they feel tired, but they still feel awake and that they have energy. I have been feeling that for the last day and a half. I'm like, consciously, I know that I am sleep deprived, but I can't sleep. I can't take a nap. So this stuff is very, very, very efficient and effective. And I guess I could take half of one of these if I need to do something weird for like changing my sleep schedule for traveling. I don't know, this is like, it's like I nuked myself with caffeine. It's crazy. So I gotta be very careful with that. What even it was just a caffeine supplement. This is great. So I had what I understand to be the caffeine equivalent of 2 cups of coffee, and I couldn't sleep for almost a day and a half. Like, I technically slept. Like, I think I slept the first day. Let's see what that was. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I slept for like 5.5 hours. And then yesterday I slept for 4 hours. actually slept less last night. But that was because I didn't have my blinds closed all the way. And so I did get that really direct early morning sun like beaming on my face. And I had to be up to go to a vet appointment with Bandit, so it ended up being like, I was just like, oh, I'll just be awake. But yeah, holy fuck, caffeine craziness. I have heroic caffeine tolerance, and that supplement scares me. Well, I guess, you know, if I ever, like, I don't know, keep this as a backup for, like, if I have, like, you know, everyone I date has ADHD, so if any of them come over and they've forgotten their ADHD meds, I'll just keep this, and then I'll be like, okay, so I know that you don't have your, like, normal thing you take. Do you want some caffeine? Because I don't have anything caffeinated to give them, so if they're used to drinking coffee or something, I just don't have any. So that'll, yeah. You lived in Seattle, how exactly? Well, if we went to Starbucks, I would get one of the, like, refresher, like, hibiscus teas. I would normally get one of the, like, no calf herbal tea, like, I think they're just called refreshers. I don't really know what they are. They're just kind of like tea, flower tea water with sugar syrup added. It's not that fancy. Yeah. Yeah. I love coffee. I drink it black most of the time, but every now and then I'll treat myself to an ice mocha or a caramel macchiato. I do like a decaf latte in the summertime, like early summer, like late May, early June. I do, when it's those first couple of days where it stays dark out, like, or stays light out really late, I do like having a little, like, late morning, early afternoon decaf latte. That is a nice little treat. But yeah, I never drink anything with caffeine in it. So yeah, anyways, that was my lesson. That's random. And, like, I'm not even doing anything crazy. I am not doing anything crazy. I'm not doing what Clavicular does, right? I'm like, I don't understand how people do that. I just don't get it. I'm like, if this is what a caffeine pill does to me, I don't even want to know what would happen if I took any sort of actual stimulant. I mean, caffeine is, but you know what I mean. Like, it just wrecked me permanently. But yeah, anyways, that's what's going on in my life currently. Those are the dog updates. I'm a big water person. That's like 90% of what I drink, and the other 10% is either soy milk or oat milk, because that's what we drink in this house. If I do like something for cold mornings, I do like miso. I do, I don't get it all the time, but I do like having, I'll get, like, you know, like the blocks you can get, like the plastic blocks of miso paste you can get at Asian grocery stores. Like, I'll get one of those, and then I'll, like, if I want something warm in the morning, I'll make that. Because sometimes I do want something a little, like, savory and salty, not just like a tea, and that's been my go-to. All right, let's get to some questions. Let's do some questions. First time catching the stream live. I'm just exploring my kinky side, and your videos have been super fun and helpful, especially hearing things from a woman's perspective. Yeah, so glad that you could join us, and I'm glad that you like my videos. Been so excited for this all week. Well, glad we are back. Welcome, Lunar. Oh, there we go. I don't know if this is not intentionally an Nana reference. I got these because they were a bonus when I bought a protein powder, and I wanted some cute glasses. So I don't think they're branded to anything. I do remember your Pokemon question. Do people do pet play as Pokemon? Follow-up question, how? Is it like a training thing? So the answer, as it is in those things, is yes, people do. My experience with it has been sort of funny improv stuff at, like, a big camping event where people will get together and do sort of like trainer battles where the submissives are Pokemon, and then the dominants will tell them to do different moves to, like, kind of play fight with the other submissives. So they'll have, like, pool noodles and, like, foam swords, or they'll just do, like, weird dance moves, or they'll have, like, a bubble wand or something. Like, it's all very, very, very deeply silly. It's not serious at all. It's not wrestling. It's not anything intense. It's just fun. So that's most of what I've seen. But, theoretically, I think if people were doing that as a bigger part of their relationship, like if they did pet play where they were like, I don't know, somebody's Growlithe or something, they would probably do some kind of thematically appropriate training thing. Like, I mean, you can take inspiration from the games, from the anime, like, right, there's move tutors, there's... what was I thinking of? There's like HMs and TMs, right? So you can practice like, as opposed to maybe like traditional like sit, stay, fetch kind of training that we do for most pet play. You could do like, we're going to teach you how to do the move. I'm trying to think of one that you could even do as like a person that like would even be, let's say bubble beam, because you could learn how to like, I don't know, twirl around and like blow bubbles at the same time. Like something silly like that is like kind of vaguely representative of the actual move. And I think that would probably be how people do it. But I think otherwise, I imagine for most people, if they're doing pet roleplay as a Pokemon, it's probably just a flavor text costuming thing. It's maybe, it can overlap with the scene design to a certain extent, but I think it's mostly like, some people are Dobermans and some people are German Shepherds and a lot of people are Huskies and a lot of people are Golden Retrievers and some people are also Yamper. And some people are Yamper and some people are Growlithe and some people are Littleton and on and on and on and on, right? So I would actually be curious if I got like 100 pet players in the room, if any of them would say a Pokemon as like their like breed, right? And I think obviously you'd be like a pony player who's like a Mudbray or something, right? Like it's more of an informational thing. Like it's sort of like, people do like, I don't know, like there's probably people who do like medical role play that's like inspired by like medical dramas that they've watched. Like people take inspiration from all kinds of places, whether it's anime or movies or TV shows or books or anything, like, right, like people, the whole gore novels, right, like that made a whole offshoot of the community just by itself. So clearly people take inspiration from different places, and I think it's not something I've seen. Like I can't name anyone who's seen at the Kink convention like pet playing in Pokemon gear, but I would not be shocked at all if that's like a thing somebody's done, right? There could also be sensory play for various elemental types like electricity, fire, water, wet and messy, etc. Oh yeah, if you wanted to do like sensation play stuff, that definitely overlaps for sure with a lot of that. Like I can definitely picture some kind of Violet Wand like glove situation happening for electroplay, for example. So yeah. My mind went to lightning bolt, but I see multiple potential issues giving my sub a taser. Yeah, I would not recommend you equip a submissive with a taser, a cattle prod, anything like that. I would not recommend doing that personally. Yeah, there could be a Pokemon themed hunt. Sure, there could be a Pokemon themed hunt. The sky is the limit. Anything is possible. Bite is an ability that all Pokeplay subs have naturally. Yeah, exactly. Like every Pokemon, the first move that pops up is they get access to Bite. So there you go. That is a thing that Pokemon can do. That's a great one. Yeah. Slurpuff is adorable. I love Slurpuff. And also Sylveon's great, obviously. Everyone loves Sylveon. I think Sylveon single-handedly like kind of saved the Pokemon franchise. I don't have anything to substantiate that, but I think Sylveon saved Pokemon. It will not be taking any questions. That is just a real certified American fact. Yeah, don't give the brats electric tools. Generally, don't give them power tools. Don't give them anything that plugs into a wall. Just don't. They really should probably just be in a straitjacket somewhere, honestly. It's for their own good. To Zapper, and to be clear, I'm joking. Like, if you can't listen, you better either really specifically negotiate this with somebody, or maybe don't play with somebody who doesn't get this. But if you can't trust your brat to know when or if it's okay to shock you or hurt you with what is essentially a weapon, you probably shouldn't be playing with that person, because there are lines. I think they need to be very clear. I think there is a difference between like nana nana boo boo like type teasing and like, you know, making faces and calling people names and, you know, mouthing off during a scene. That's very different than like running up to somebody and like causing them like physical pain, hurting them, you know, maybe inflicting a mark on them potentially. Like, that's all very risky. And if a brat thinks like, well, I'm a brat, so therefore it must be okay if I do this because I'm a brat. Like, no. I have to talk about it first. So if you really actually can't trust your partner with the power tool because they might try to use it on you as a joke, maybe you shouldn't be doing kink with them, in my opinion, unless you've negotiated that, like, this is some kind of no holds barred, like, octagon situation where you both just get permission to, like, fuck each other up and do weird pranks on each other, and that's what you like in your dynamic. I think zappers are probably a good place for people to start with electroplay, just because it has a very clear noise when it happens, so you know when it's happening. And it's not as intense as it seems, and you can't like accidentally fuck it up by like, maybe you were trying to do a 10 out of 100 and then oops, the dial got moved or pressed, you didn't notice, and then now it's at like 100 out of 100, and now you made somebody like fly out of the chair like a Sunday morning cartoon, and you know, now they're not going to touch electroplay ever again. So I think it is a little bit easier to use and just, you know, less options for accidentally causing massive unintentional pain. So, plus it is very kink specific as well, and I think that can be a bonus. And I actually don't think it's that expensive either, especially compared to like if you're getting like an actual proper violet wand and not just something from Wish or wherever. Uh, 9-volt batteries on wet skin are a good way to start. Oh, you know, I'm not an electroplay person, so I haven't thought about this stuff. But I do know people who used to like I don't know, like lick batteries when they were a kid. Like they lick a 9-volt battery because the shock was like, ooh. So actually that probably does correlate with an interesting kink later in life, if I had to guess. Oh my goodness. So that's not shocking at all. That was a pun. I didn't mean it. It wasn't a pun when I said it until I said it out loud and I heard it, and then I was like, oh wait. No, that's just the thing that I say. But 9-volt batteries on wet skin. I don't know, is that like, can you do that multiple times? Like you just like do like this and it shocks you every time? I don't know. Definitely not something I've ever heard covered in any electroplay class that I've taken. So that's not something that I have familiarity with, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, I don't know. Maybe it's actually good that I don't know. I still remember a friend from Oregon saying they didn't know what thunder sounded like because they hadn't heard it before. I didn't believe them as a kid until I looked further into it. Yeah, no. It's definitely more common now than I think it used to be, just because climate change, but it's very rare. And I actually remember when I first moved here from the Southeast, like being in 4th grade and there being thunder lightning one day, like at school, and like most of the kids being kind of freaked out by it. And like one girl, like absolutely losing it, like crying, screaming, hiding under the desk, afraid of the thunder and lightning, like just couldn't handle it. And then I like lived in Florida, so thunder and lightning during the school day was perfectly normal as far as I was concerned. So I was just like, oh, that's when I learned that it was weird and that not everywhere had thunderstorms all of the time. I just thought that was like how weather happened. But no, it's not how weather happens, at least not currently. Grocery stores are so disorganized. Where are the Impossible Burgers? Logically, you'd expect the meat substitute aisle in the frozen meat section. No, it was instead near the seafood. I have found Impossible Burger in its own section with other non-animal product meat replacements. I have found it with the meat by the butcher area. I have found it in the frozen section, in the refrigerated section. I have found so many random places, I don't even want to look for it. It's like, it's in a different place in every store. And if I don't even know if it's on sale or not, why am I going to try to track it down in the first place? Because I'm not paying full price for that shit. No, thank you. I will just go without. he got invited to dinner with Trump, which is just more proof that we live in clown hell now. Is that because Trump wants clavicular clout, or what do you think the situation is with that? Like, what's the conversation where it's like, let's have this guy Clavicular on for dinner? Maybe does Trump have a crush on Clavicular? Is that the plan? Like, what's... there are two options and none of them are good. That sounds... I don't like that. No good. Yes, the fan is on the camera, not to worry. Thank you for asking. And whenever... if you feel overwhelmed, you can always just look at the bandit camera, because she is normally very zen and relaxed at this time, because she knows that it is not attention time when I'm streaming, mostly. How is it that a bunch of the most toxic guys give off repressed ace vibes? Dilbert guy and Tate have said stuff like that too. I don't know about the Dilbert guy, but now that you've said that, like, I can't picture what the Dilbert guy looks like, but I know what you're talking about, because also is like a far-right libertarian, like, and not the fun kind of libertarian, like the kind where it's like, do we need to check your computer, sir? Like that kind of libertarian. And I do wonder, I think it's possible that because, 2 out of those 3 guys take a lot of steroid drugs and have for a very long time, I imagine that negatively affects your sex drive. And in Clavicular's case, like, he was doing it from the time he was a preteen. So concurrently with his natural sexual development, he was taking a ton of medication that probably has permanently negatively impacted his sexual development versus what it would have been on its own. And so imagine that plays a role. Just like you kind of become non-sexual as a person because of all the stuff you've put in your body, and it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't hold the same appeal anymore. I think it's possible that, not to go back to the whole maybe just expose them to Tumblr instead and they would have been fine kind of thing. But I think there is a possibility that... Okay, so the ace masculine people I know, for the most part, they're all pretty queer and they don't really care what people think about them and they're fine. But if I think about people I know from the internet and stories I've heard, I can see a potential thread where there are people who are men that don't feel attraction to women either at all or super strongly sexually, and so they're afraid that means that they're gay, and being gay is really bad. So in order to cover up the fact that they could be gay because they're not attracted to women, it's about like, it's not that they're actually attracted to men, that they're afraid because they're not attracted to women the way they think they should be, because, women are the prize and women are like the reward that you get for being, Mr. Cubicle Man at your 9 to 5 and whatever. So in order to do that, they like overcompensate essentially with the workout stuff and the looks maxing and the status stuff, and they basically try to convince themselves that they want something they don't really want. And that's an act they can play when they're maybe trying to sell a vulnerable person an e-course about, 10 best flirting tips, or like how to keep your woman in line, or whatever the fuck it is that they're doing these days. And that maybe works to a certain audience, but then when you see them outside of a circumstance that they control, like not on their streams, but you see them in an interview, or you see them maybe in somebody else's stream and whatever, like they're a guest, you see them in a different light and you realize, like, I don't think they really actually want any of this. And they just sort of bought into a life because it's not okay as a masculine man to not feel like very strong sexual attraction. And in general, like, a lot of men in the manosphere talk about relationships with women and sex with women as being this like fundamentally unpleasurable kind of grotesque thing that you do as a natural impulse. And it's really sad. Like, I am an aspec person, and even I don't think that way about sex. Maybe at some point when I was younger, I maybe felt something like, ooh, it's icky and it's gross, and like, because I think most people have a stage like that when they're growing up. That's perfectly normal. But to be like a 34-year-old make a video where you talk about like your sex is where you impale a woman with your your part of your body, and it's like they just talk about these very like grotesque abstracted terms where it's like, so you're doing all of this to get status, to get women, but then you don't really like women and you don't really want to have sex with them and you don't like the sex that you have, so then why are you doing it? And it's to get status. So then why do you get status? And it's because people treat you better, and then you have more success with women because you have higher like your goal is not serving you at all. You're doing something that you don't like. Like, why would I spend $100 to make chocolate cake when I hate chocolate cake? Why would I do that to myself? Why would I waste that effort and that money? But they do, and it's because they've all sort of bought into like, well, this is how society works. This is how humanity is supposed to operate, and I just feel sad for them. I do. I assume a lot of men feel the same about sexuality as I do about gender. Het or cis by default, but not deeply. Outcome is 1, doubling down on traditional expression, or 2, staying default, or 3, just rejecting it. I think it might be Roosh V. Yeah. I was like, I couldn't remember who it was. I was just picturing like a video clip in my head that I've seen in a lot of videos about the manosphere, but it would not shock me if it was Roosh V was the one who said it. But yeah, I think it's, doubling down on the traditional gender expression, because, if you do anything different, then you're going to get ostracized. And a lot of them already experienced that in some way, shape, or form, so they don't want to have that keep happening to them. Like, I think it's less about actually achieving something more than it is about avoiding. Like, they don't really want the thing that success gives them. They want to avoid failure. Does that make sense? Like, they want to avoid being rejected by society. They want to avoid whatever problems they're dealing with, and it's just a good way of doing it. Once I discovered I was ace, it brought me peace. I mean, yeah, I think for the majority of people, I'd wager 95%, if not more, of people who come to terms with their ace identity and they investigate that part of themselves, they feel a lot of peace with that. Their immediate feeling when they're like, well, I'm not really attracted to women. Does that mean I'm gay? Well, I can't be gay. Like, they don't have that thought pattern. They don't go, well, then I have to just try really, 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 really hard to be super straight, because then if that definitely means I can't be gay if I've had sex with 100 women. It's very like Always Sunny in Philadelphia type situation. Attracted to women or not, some of those guys are definitely attracted to men. Oh yeah, some of them are. I don't know if all of them are. I think it's probably a mix. I think I don't really like feeding into the stereotype of like all these public homophobic men or like transphobic people, or secretly actually trans themselves or secretly gay or whatever. I think some of them are, but I don't think it's the majority. Like, especially when you're looking at the whole picture and not just whoever is currently the most inflammatory on the internet. Guri Ace AMAP here. When I first started going to play parties, I slept with a couple girls. I always say girls. It's funny. Couple girls. Because they asked, and I couldn't think of a reason not to. Oh, that phase only lasted like 2 months. I knew someone in high school that went through a vaguely similar thing where they were also aspec, and they got into a relationship with someone, and they kind of like essentially accidentally had sex because the person they were dating was like, do you want to try this thing? And they were like, I guess. It's like, well, I guess we know what that's about now. I don't know what that clearly did not result in a repeat experience, but just funny to think about how that goes, how often. I think for ace people across the board, regardless of gender, there's always sort of a phase of like, well, I mean, I guess I should try it and just see what it's like, and it seems like it's a big deal, and then like you figure out like, oh, no, this isn't like my thing, or sometimes it is, but it's like, demisexuality exists, all kinds of variations, not just like, we're leaving room for sex favorable and demi aces here, okay, just to be clear. So many hypermask guys think that not wanting sex is gay. Well, then they don't even want to. I fucking saw something the other day that was like apparently, like, I'm not old enough to remember this, but apparently there was a big thing for a long time where like wanting to go down on your girlfriend, aka eating pussy. I don't know why I said it like that. Like, I was just like, I had to think about whether or not I could say pussy on a live stream. But, like, men were very against eating pussy. And it wasn't even because it was gross. It was like, well, it means you're gay if you like going down on your girlfriend. Because I was like, how? You think gay men? I mean, maybe some, trans men exist. But, like, most gay men are not doing that kind of activity. Like, it's like lesbians, sure, but they mean gay men, right? When they say that they're afraid, they don't want to be a gay man. So, but I still don't understand why. I think it's because they've somehow decided that, like, well, it's not even a performer versus like receptive partner, because it's still the same, but it's more about like the focus of pleasure is like what makes you straight. Like, if you are giving pleasure to your partner selflessly, that means you're a woman or gay, is I think the logic. Truly bizarre stuff happening. Being with an ace girlfriend for a decade has either made me aspec or brought it out in me. Either way, happy with this. I mean, hey, if you're happy, that's the whole goal. That's what you should go with. All right, see you, Lexi. Bye-bye. I think it's a complicated conversation when I find people aesthetically pleasing without it being sexual or romantic. Yeah, I think it can be difficult. I'm learning how to tease those things apart in your own brain is difficult. I think it is for most people because of how much culturally, especially, those things usually go together. Like, it's the person you find, that like fits your vibe, that you find sexually attractive, and then you want to date all at once. Like, it's always in one package. And sometimes you can just aesthetically appreciate people and not want to have sex with them, and it's fine. As a grays person, I'm so glad I didn't have sex until I finally met someone who gave me those feelings of attraction. I feel like I could have ended up in a really bad and uncomfy situation very easily. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad you got to experience something positive as like your first time exploring that, because unfortunately I do think it is true, just going from the statistics about this that we have, that a lot of ace people are like coerced into sex. And that could be like overtly through like really direct pressure, and or just like kind of socially coerced into it, because like, how do you know if you haven't had it before? Everyone's doing it, blah, 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 blah. And so there's, even though we tell people don't have sex because you'll get pregnant and you'll die, that is also in tandem with most media glorifying romantic and sexual relationships as this really, really important, vital part of humanity. Hi, I love your channel. I'm starting somewhat of a deeper dive into submission lately. Thanks for all the education and informative content. You are so welcome, Ella. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to get into some more questions here. I'm very glad that I fixed the scrolling problem from earlier. We need to rebuild Tumblr as a safety valve for weird teens again. I am completely on board with that. I think that is the best solution to this whole problem. Isn't SpongeBob an asexual icon, though? Maybe. I would say Jessica Rabbit is an asexual icon. I mean, just look at her relationship. Like, she found the one guy who loved her for her and not for her body, and I don't think there's anything more aspec than that. I think that's a pretty typical experience. There's a pretty fine line between toxic avoidant sexuality or toxic avoidant asexuality and extreme sexism. They definitely seem to have similar roots for a lot of people. I don't care anybody could take a guy like Andrew Tate seriously. He literally tweeted how men who oh gosh, what happened? Okay, gonna refresh. Please still sync. Oh my goodness. Okay. Being entirely air-ice, but also pointing people out because they look good doesn't mean I'm like attracted to them. Yeah, exactly. There's people I see all the time where I'm like, I really like that outfit, or they have really good style, or I like how they did their makeup. And it doesn't mean that I want to fuck them. It just means that like, I think their presence is interesting and I like that. It's not that complicated, but not everyone gets that. All right. We're talking about looking. I got most of the chat back. I think the tab got weird. All right. I am going to pop over to the Q&A box. We're going to look at those. But yeah, Andrew Tate saying that, like, enjoying eating pussy makes you gay, I think is very, like, I mean, when I hear from people like that, I just assume it's a rage bait thing. Like, he's doing that because it's going to get clicks, it's going to get views, people are going to talk about it. Like, I think it's very, very cynical attention stuff. I don't think that he actually means it. I think that it's purely just for, like, I'm going to piss off the libs by telling all these blue-haired ladies that no one wants to, like, touch their vagina because they're disgusting and used up. I think that's the calculus entirely, for most of them. But I think some of them also, like, they've tried to come up with a reason for why not caring about their partner's sexual pleasure is okay. But the fucked up weird thing, and this is a hill that I will die on, is it's kind of weirdly centered receptive oral sex as, like, the pinnacle of female sexuality. And, like, people misquote studies about this, and they repeat this as though this is a truism, is that, like, to deny your woman oral sex is to deny her pleasure. And the more that I talk to more women and get to know female sexuality better, the more that I have increasingly learned that different people do genuinely really like different things, and it is also a problem when you try to force any kind of sexual contact to happen because, well, but isn't this what you like? Because women like oral, isn't that all their favorite thing? And let me tell you, it is not always all women's favorite thing ever. Some women really like it. For some women, they prefer it over penetration or PIV or any other kind of toy or vibrators or anything. Everyone has their own thing. I know people that are women. I know lots of women. Just not to brag, I know women. not to cause a stir, but women. So some women really like anal. So that's their favorite thing. Some women really like oral. Some women really like just good old-fashioned penetration, missionary style. Some women like vibrators. Some women only want outer course. It's the whole thing. And so we should not create a dichotomy where it's like right-wing men don't eat pussy, liberal men, whoever, eat pussy, and that means they're good and they like women. Because at least in my experience living in very fucking woke-ass part of the country, is you get men where they're offended when you don't like it. And that it's not you, it's not your technique, it's not like, and something wrong with me. It's just sometimes people don't like things, and it's okay, and it's not a skill issue. It's just this is a category of sensation that I don't enjoy. And you should apply that logic, whether it is sex, whether it is kink, whether it is the food that you choose to make for dinner. If somebody doesn't like a particular sensation, it doesn't mean that always that you're doing it wrong, or that you're bad at it, or that something's deficient with them. It just means that they have their own individual preferences, because human bodies are fucking weird and everyone has their own thing. I know women. I'm so glad somebody else made a binders full of women joke. That is Mitt Romney, binders full of women is like, that to me is like the start of the political meme era. I fucking love that. I think about that at least probably multiple times a year. Not every month, probably 3 to 4 times a year I will think of binders full of women. It's just, it is in my brain. It is a core memory. Hey Evie, just wanted to say hi. I'm a big fan of the channel. Your content has really helped me feel more comfortable embracing my interest in BDSM. You are so welcome. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, careful, the Puritans will cry blasphemy. They crucify me for more than one thing, I guess. As a bi person who dates both a good amount of people, definitely do have very different preferences. Yeah, it's like, even if you only date one gender, you will still learn everyone has their own preferences with kissing, with hugging, with cuddling, with touch, like even just like non-sexually. Like I have dated radically different people with respect to their preferences for like sharing a bed, like cuddling, spooning, hugging, kissing, how we eat dinner, like just every human being is different. It's crazy. It's amazing. It's one of the beautiful things about existence is that everyone is different. It's fantastic. What is, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going back to the question box. What is the best way to learn Edgeplay? So, sort of a vague question, very, very open-ended. Because Edgeplay can mean so many different things. So that could be like bloodplay, that could be suspensions, that could be medical roleplay stuff, that could be interrogations, that could be CNC. And my very boring answer for that is the best way to learn almost anything in kink, but especially as a top trying to learn a new skill that you want to do to somebody else, is you go to an in-person class, you take really good notes, and then you practice. I think classes are a great resource if you don't have a place locally near you where you can do that, or they don't offer the kinds of classes that you would like to learn about, then online is a good alternative thing. But at the very least, especially if you're doing anything that's going to involve a higher level of physical risk, I would really recommend, getting, first aid classes done, CPR certifications done, stop the bleed stuff, bloodborne pathogen stuff. There's lots of vanilla type courses that you can take for Edgeplay purposes that cross over, that might not be taught in the local kink community, but that will still give you information that you need. But in-person classes with feedback from presenters, getting to have time to try things out for yourself is going to be the best way. And then just practicing, taking notes as you go. And maybe something that goes beyond that is finding play partners that can give you really good, solid feedback. And, all bottoms deserve to be played with. All bottoms are great. Every style is great. But I think if you're newer to playing, let's say with rope, for example, if you're newer to tying rope, having a play partner who goes into a rope headspace really easily and is like very floaty and disconnected and can't really string a sentence together like at the drop of a hat, that's maybe really fun to play with and do scenes with, absolutely. But if what you want is feedback on how does this feel for you? Is this tight enough? Do I need to adjust this here? How much time do you have left? If they're just like the whole time, right? And they're just like tongue lolling out of the head, can't say more than 2 words at a time. They're like, oh, it feels great. Like if they can't give you any actual feedback because like any kind of rope does it for them, that's not really going to help you that much as a newer top, right? So finding play partners that have probably a level of skill themselves so they can give more detailed feedback. People that maintain or can maintain a clear headspace during play so they can give you those notes as things are still happening, and people that are good at debriefing and follow-up communication. So people that maybe you don't want to talk right after the scene is over, maybe you come back in a day or two and then you have a conversation about like, how did things go for you? How did this make you feel? Like, what techniques did you like? What do you think I could improve on? And I think that's helpful, but I think also part of this being effective is being in a place mentally as a top where you're open to receiving that kind of feedback. I think there's softer and better ways that bottoms can deliver that information to their partners about, if something needs to change or does it feel right. There's a big difference between like, oh, you're doing it again, and like, so this is feeling a little tight. I think maybe we could try adjusting it here, right? I think it's important to be clear and honest about what your needs are, but there's the rolling your eyes, oh my god, I can't believe you're fucking this up. I can't believe I wasted time on this kind of energy. That's really off-putting. And like, this is not a time to bring out the bratting or the sassy back talk or the overtly judgmental vibes, okay? But that's my opinion. I think those are probably the best ways to learn Edgeplay. And then just like take notes, practice as you go, and start small, work your way up. And before you know it, you will be on your way to doing all kinds of things. Speaking of woke, the way they unironically use that word as a pejorative to me just reeks of prideful ignorance. I mean, it's circled back around to now where I say woke is like a funny, silly thing to be like, oh my god, the woke agenda. The woke agenda is like wanting free healthcare. emotions. I would die if a sub did that to me. Yeah, and it's like I'm giving that as an example, but honestly, I have had partners in the past who have told me that they have played with people that have communicated with them that way. But it's put them off of, like, they think I can't be this kind of top. Like, I can't do rope bondage or electroplay or this impact with this one kind of toy because they've had a partner where, like, they couldn't give feedback on, like, maybe let's try this instead, or I would like this more, or we're at a 5, can we maybe try a 3? Like, they couldn't give that level of feedback. They would just kind of roll their eyes, sigh, act annoyed, wiggle around, tell them that's not working, I don't like that. Like, and if everything was just sort of stopping at I don't like that, that's not working. And that is information that's worth sharing, but it should have some more details, like a suggestion for what to do instead, or a theory about why that's happening, or just anything beyond you're fucking up. Because I would say it's also fucking up as a bottom in a scene that's designed for feedback to not give the feedback. So if you're a bottom that does that, that is also messing up your role, because you're also supposed to communicate. And also, if you really don't like what's happening, if you're doing a demo scene and nothing is clicking and nothing is working and it just doesn't feel right, why haven't you called the scene as a bottom in that situation? As opposed to dragging it out and saying how much you hate everything and nothing is working. You're hurting yourself as much as the other person is to continue to stay in that scenario where you are very clearly unhappy. Because most of the time I see this kind of dynamic happen, it's like bottom says, oh, I hate that. Top says, well, do you want to keep going, or what should I change? And like, oh, we'll do this. Or, yeah, we can keep going. And so the top's like, okay, we can keep going. And so they're kind of just like locked together. Like, neither one of them is having fun, but neither one of them is going to opt out and stop the scene. And so they're both just sort of miserably doing play for some amount of time, and it's just like, why are you doing this? What's happening? So yes, this should not have to be a lesson, but it is. Be kind to your tops because they are people, and if you would like to play with them again in the future, if you want to leave that door open, I really recommend you give feedback that's kind. You don't have to sugarcoat it. You don't have to be like, here's 3 sentences of fluff and then criticism that's very mildly watered down and then more fluff, right? You know, don't waste people's time. Say what you mean, but just don't be an asshole. It should not be that hard. And yet, for some reason, it is. There's so many more elements involved than just technical skill. Exactly. And like, some people do not have the communication skill. Take note, brats. Don't brat during a learning exercise. Yeah, I mean, really, negotiate however much you want to brat when you think is appropriate. Like, establish that if you want that. But by default, I think that is a good scenario for putting the brat away. Recognizing if there's conductive play and if y'all need to take a step back and discuss before re-engaging. Yeah, it's like, is this conducive to our goals, or are we really just frustrating each other and wasting time? And I think that's what people struggle with a lot, is they don't want to be the first one to tap out. It's like a game of Uncle. They don't want to say something is too much. They don't want to give up. The top doesn't want to give up because they're kind of desperately thinking, well, if I keep trying, I'm going to land on the right thing. And they want to at least end on a win as opposed to lose, right? I think that's probably true for a lot of people. And then the bottom is just like frustrated. And they're kind of in the same scenario where they're like, I hate this, but I want to somehow work this around into being okay again. So I'm going to hold on because I don't want to be seen as a quitter. I don't want to be seen as a weak bottom. I don't want to be seen as like not keeping my word or my promise of bottoming to this sensation. And it's just, it makes everyone unhappy. If you phrase, tell us more about a primal dynamic as a question, I can probably answer it, but that is very open-ended. If you want me to give you a good answer, give me a specific question. What more do you want to know about primal dynamics? And then I can answer that. Hope Bandit is doing so much better. She definitely is. Goofy question, but what's a film scene that feels unintentionally kinky to you? For me, it's 2014 Hercules, where the villain was all tied up. Oh, you know, I just rewatched Hercules not that long ago, and I definitely can see what you're saying about that. It's like, what's something that's like unintentionally kinky in a movie? Oh God, I'm so bad at like remembering movies and like watching movies. Don't watch like a lot of movies, so I'm trying to think of like what have I even like watched in the past year. I feel like the last year, if I've watched movies, it's been a lot of stuff that objectively does not have anything kinky in it, or is like a kink movie or something like that. Because I don't know. I try to think. I genuinely cannot really think of anything. I think that's a good question, but I can't think of an answer. So maybe I'll throw it to people in the chat if anyone wants to say for themselves, like what's a film scene that you think is unintentionally kinky that you like, and let me know what the movie is, and maybe I'll check it out. I don't know, but yeah, good question. I wish I watched more movies and something was like clear in my head, because right now I can't think of much of anything. It's mostly been like overt kink that I've picked up on. Sean here, tasting party tomorrow night where I will be a practice bottom, story for the next Friday live stream. Yeah, thank you, Sean. I will look out for that. Ooh, good question. Do you have any suggestions for apartment-friendly beginner dungeon gear? Like larger pieces that can be easily stored or semi-permanent things that can be installed with minimal damage. So it depends on what kind of stuff that you're looking for. Like bondage stuff, furniture to like bend somebody over on. I think probably the easiest thing to do is starting with like the Liberator brand pillows, or like, you know, knockoff versions of that. You don't have to pay Liberator prices, but like either like Lovesac or like Liberator type stuff, but especially Liberator because it's designed for sex and they make a million different shapes and sizes of pillows and bolsters and blankets and stuff that if you're already using a bed to play on can help put your partner in a different position. Like, oh my God, I haven't thought about this in forever, but for quite a while I had a now ex-partner, but I had a partner who had this one particular Liberator pillow where it was kind of like an S shape almost, where it had sort of a bigger hump and then a smaller second hump. And then we would use that to turn one of the beds into sort of like a quasi, like elevated spanking couch, essentially. It wasn't really like a bench, obviously, because it was a whole bed, but it kind of helped keep sort of butt up, head down, but in a way that was like comfortable and supported. So while you're in the process of getting hit, because I think people don't always recognize how difficult it is to like keep your body upright while somebody is hitting you with an object. If you're just flat laying down and your head's like, you know, against the mattress, the pillow or whatever, that's like, okay, your body's going into the mattress, right? But if you're like leaning over something up against a wall and there's nothing supporting you except for you putting your hands against something, maybe, or your feet on the ground, it takes a lot of skill to be able to just like stand there and take that force, especially if you have a size gap between you and your partner. So I would maybe look for one of those. Something that I haven't tried yet, but that I'm really curious about trying, both for like the actual vanilla purpose and for kink purposes, is those like over the door frame. And depending on your apartment complex and their rules, this may not be apartment friendly, but amount will vary. But the over the door frame pull up and chin up bars, because I think if you do want something to hold your hands onto, that again, plausibly deniable to, you know, lots of people buy these, they're very, very popular on Amazon, but having something that's a little higher quality than just like the over the door you know, sex restraint things I've seen lots of people have, you know, just for like $20 on Amazon. Those I don't think are made very well, but I think if you want something that your partner can hold on to that's really sturdy and potentially like you know, you can like lift yourself up with them. Like you can get into interesting positions with them. I think that I think could be an interesting thing to have that definitely like, you know, you just say it's for pull-ups and like, who's going to know the fucking difference, right? So I think that's another good one. I like the pillow suggestion ideally because it's something you can store under a bed, or just like some of them you can just keep as like regular throw pillows and it's not really going to raise any eyebrows when it's just on your bed. So I think that's one thing. I know there are places that make like a collapsible, not collapsible, but like foldable, like bondage. I don't know what they call, like mats, I guess, kind of. Gosh, I wish I could remember the brand, but I don't remember what it is right now. But I know there's places where they essentially like imagine it's sheet of wood covered in leather and then it's got bondage tie down points on it, and it gives you a way to have essentially a portable bondage frame for tie down points, or if you want to do like floor based stuff. So it's not going to go up against a wall. I think some of them you can install like more permanently to go up on a wall, but this is like a foldable under the bed one where you can use it for you know, hog ties or tying somebody down on all fours, or you know, put them in restraints while they're kneeling, and like that's more the purpose of it, I think. So that's like another thing that you can do that, again, storable, relatively easy to use, no assembly required, not going to leave holes in your apartment. And is there anything else I'd recommend for like not causing damage that's like easier to store? That's not going to be super obvious. I mean, I know people like the under the bed restraints, where, I mean, if you and your partner like really spread out exposed poses, like if you like a spreader bar, if you like the spread eagle look, if that's like a thing you play with in your scenes, this could be worth it for you. But I do know people that get the under the bed restraint stuff where, you know, there's a cuff attachment point that where it uses the bed as like the, I don't know what that was, but okay, I think that was that like my freezer? I don't know what that was. Okay, super weird. But anyways, I know people that have used those before and really like them. They can be really cheap. I would probably get one where you can maybe swap out the cuffs so they're like more comfortable, higher quality cuffs, because you really just want more the restraint system than anything else. But I think this is definitely a use case for, you know, if you want to experiment with stuff that's not super expensive, go for the Lovers brands, you know, online sex store, like, you know, sex swing bed restraint stuff. They're not the best quality, but if you're just looking to kind of experiment and see what you like, then that's not a huge cost versus, you know, paying for an actual spanking horse or something, which is going to be several $100s probably. Anyways, I think, is there anything else I can think of with that? Using a pull-up bar for restraint seems neat, but now I'm thinking of exercise challenge scenes with reward and punishments after. I mean, that's also one use of them. That's definitely something you can do. Like if you have like an exercise or a fitness kink, which a lot of people do, where you're like, all right, as a punishment, it's also good for you. You didn't drink enough water today, so now you have to do a pull-up, right? Or now you have to hang, even just don't have to do a full pull-up, right? Because a lot of people can't. You can just do like hang from the bar for 10 seconds or something, and then you can escalate as the punishment gets more intense. So I think that's a fun one to do. Make people recount doing the presidential fitness exam. That's a scene idea for the middles in your life. Do a presidential fitness exam scene. Hi, little puppy. Is you doing okay? You look, you're pretty itchy over there. I have allergies too. Is it your allergies bugging you? Little girl. You were just zoning out. You were like frozen. I was like, what's going on, little puppy? How are you? Aw, good girl. Are you itchy? Turn up, baby. Yeah. You like me? She was like fully zoned out. fully zoned out. Okay. Yeah, the beep test. Yeah, I don't remember what that one's called. The pacer test. I only went to one school that did that, thank God. But yeah, this is now so. I know some people have the like pacer test thing memorized in their head, permanently burned in. I don't, thankfully. So good for me. Google covert bondage furniture. You could buy or use things as ideas for DIY stuff. Yeah, if you have the ability to do DIY, that definitely opens up a lot of possibilities. The Fitness Grand Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues. Imagine you start a scene, you don't know what's gonna happen, and your dom like pulls that out. That would be so fucking funny. That would be great. Yeah, she's the queen of spacing out for sure. Not the presidential fitness exam, but I know someone who would administer the Fitness Grand Pacer test as part of a scene. Yeah, exactly. I think we just talked about that. Is that where you work out in a sauna while wearing jeans? Sure, good. Burpees as punishment, yes. Yeah, burpees as punishment for sure. I mean, it's like punishment for everybody. I actually kind of like burpees, I'm not gonna lie. But I would not do them all the time. Personally, I'm a DIY advocate, but I like to be able to customize for my own taste. Yeah, if you want something really specific and you know what you want, that's great. But I think if you're wanting to save money and you don't know what you want yet, you know, I think doing DIY when you have more information about what you want looks better, especially, or works out better, especially when you have limited space. Oh, okay, so good question. So regarding the CNN, completely different, Rape Academy story, air quotes on Rape Academy, how might kink social norms and expectations actually be instructive in terms of challenging abuse culture / rape culture in vanilla society at large? So I have not fully looked into this yet, but if you have not heard / seen this, which I don't know how many people know of this, but there was a pretty big story, at least on the web version of CNN, where they alleged that there was like this rape academy that like 62 million men had attended, and crazy numbers. And when you actually look into the details of it, what was actually going on is there was one particular porn site, which is a porn website, not a rape academy, but a porn website with hosted content on it. And that website got 62 million views over the course of like the whole month that they were looking at. So they were kind of using that number to overstate what was actually going on. And then what they were looking at were videos in the sleep category, and there are definitely people who use categories on porn websites like the sleep category to post genuinely non-consensual content that is violating people. But it is also a legitimate kink that a lot of people do. I know a lot of people where their first foray into CNC is having a negotiation with a partner where they say, either you can wake me up in the middle of the night to have sex, or you can have sex with me when I'm sleeping, if I know what's happening or not, and that would be hot and good and fun and I like it. So I know so many people that are into that I think my reading of that story is that while any kind of non-consensual porn online being posted is very bad, I'm reading that story in the context of so many people across political lines trying to get device level identity information from people. So making it so your identity is tied to your electronics, your phone, your computer, the fucking computer in your goddamn car, on a device level, so there's no way to get around it, at least, easily, unless I don't know, people might or will find a way to get around it, I'm sure, but that's the intent, is to do that. Generally a lot of blaming of larger cultural issues on porn. I think when we look at people like Andrew Tate, like Clavicular, like other pickup artists, like the far right, it is a scapegoat. Like, people are scapegoating consensual porn, consensual mainstream porn all the time even, to put blame on that because people are so disgusted by sex because we live in a sex negative culture, when clearly the most harmful direct ideas are coming from fucking influencers that are not just like vaguely posting a video that people might learn from, but like saying, here's how you should treat women, this is what you should do. Actually physically beating women is fine. So I feel like you know, adult content that's meant for adults is getting scapegoated when clearly the source of the issue is lying somewhere else. But in terms of maybe going back to the actual question, which is kink, social norms and expectations being instructive for challenging abuse culture and rape culture and stuff like that, I think that does tie actually back into having a certain perspective on adult content and consumption around that. And I think number one is having knowledge of what you're consuming and what you're doing, right? So making sure that you can give informed consent, that you are adequately aware of the risks of what you're going to do, what you want to do, and being critical of the content that you're consuming and the kinds of activities that you want to get up to. And I think in the vanilla world, we don't do that, obviously, because sex ed is by and large terrible in most parts of the planet, or it is completely lacking, and it doesn't cover anything typically beyond describing heterosexual reproductive sex. So I think expanding sex ed is something that the kink community definitely does, right? Like we have classes all the time at conventions about like anal sex, deep throating, fisting, face fucking, you name it. There is probably somebody who is a kink educator that has taught a class on techniques around that. And that is a way that people fill the gap that they are left with from the lackluster sex ed that they were given when they were younger. So that's one thing. I think having an awareness that just because you find somebody else's kink distasteful doesn't make it wrong is also really important. Like, I think a lot of the current discourse I'm seeing from people is, I don't like that. It would make me feel bad to do it. Therefore, no one actually really likes it and no one should do it. And it shouldn't be allowed because I think it makes me feel bad. And I think having a your kink is not my kink, but your kink is still okay mentality towards people's sexuality and their preferences, whether it's that they like, you know, rough sex, that they like hair pulling, that they like, you know, deep throating, that's fine. If you want to have missionary with the lights on, that's also fine. Just allowing for the diversity of the human experience, I think, is really important. I thought the Rape Academy was around men sharing information and links to drugs to be able to drug partners so they can assault them. Well, that was the thing. The headlines and the way the story was being framed was, it kind of made it sound like it was what Motherless was doing, but then actually it was really a story about a Telegram channel. Like, it was conflating two things as though they were more related than they really were. And I think that's what the problem is. Like, I think it's a fine, if you had talked about, like, hey, there's Telegram channels where people are sharing information on how to drug people, that's great. But then it gets tied up with, like, we should ban sleeping porn because it's leading to this thing, is my read of what the discourse has been about so far. Is like I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff recently, people talking about, like, you know, sleep sex. I don't know what people call it exactly. Like, I've seen sleep sex, I've seen somnophilia, I've seen it just be as a general CNC thing under that broad category. And yeah, and I think also having open and honest conversations with your partner about what you're doing. Now, I think if we're talking about people that want to commit assault against their partners, I don't think that they are necessarily helped by a kink ethos. I think there are cases where maybe a younger person who's just starting to go down that pathway because they see it as sort of the only option to get what they want could be helped by getting exposure to other sources of information. But when you get to a certain level of involvement in that and commitment to that as, like, this is what you think is right in the world, you believe that you are entitled to other people's bodies in a certain way, you're not going to get on board with, you should ask permission before you do things. Either one, because the whole reason you can get off to that is because it's fundamentally non-consensual, and so making it consensual would just ruin it for you. Or two, you don't believe that your partner is worthy of the kind of respect that is necessary to do things in an informed way because of beliefs that you have about gender, patriarchy, roles that people have in relationships, obligations, so on and so forth. So I don't know if maybe people that are to the point of like giving tips on how to non-consensually drug people in Telegram channels, they're going to really be changed by kink stuff. But I think socially on a larger level, I think people can be maybe inoculated against ideas like that by having education, by having peers that they can look up to, having role models that they can look up to that model different ways of approaching relationships that are really based on mutual enjoyment, mutual pleasure, very much established consent and conversations, and those things enhancing the relationship as opposed to ruining the mood or something that you just have to get through. And I feel like that's a lot of the problem that I see when we have started to go more towards having open communication around dynamics and relationships, is people still treat it like this is a chore that you have to get through in order to get to what you really want. It's the broccoli before the dessert. When in reality, when you're doing this well with somebody that you're actively engaged with, it can be something that is erotic, that is foreplay, that is hot in and of itself, because you're talking about these things that you want to do together, and it's like you're building this kinky universe together, and that should be something that is seen as hot, interesting, exciting, a sign of investment in the relationship that you can use as erotic fuel for the things that you want to do later. So I think moving on from like, okay, we're not talking about consent at all, to, okay, we're going to talk about establishing consent, but we're going to make it sound like this arduous checklist chore item that you got to do to get to the fun stuff. Moving into how do we make this not separate from the experience, but part of the experience that makes it emotionally, romantically, emotionally fulfilling for people, and not just, again, a chore that you have to get through. We need to be able to say, I find this gross without trying to moralize it. You can dislike something, you can make fun of it, and still understand there's nothing objectively wrong with it. Exactly. And I think people are like, I don't like this, therefore it must be bad because I like good things and I dislike bad things. It's very childish, and I hope that people can move away from that mindset and with maturity. But then I'm continually shocked by the people, whether it's like content creators or people on the internet, and I assume, okay, you must be a kid, you must be 14, you must be 20 maybe, and you haven't had life happen to you yet, so you just don't know better. But then I look into it and it's like, oh no, this is actually like a 35-year-old with like pictures of their kids in their fucking Twitter account. Like, it's like grown-ass adults that should know better that just don't know better. Mandating highly erotically charged breathless negotiation scenes before all porn. Yeah, you know, that actually, you joke, but that might do something. And I know people that specifically like having the couch conversations before the porn scenes start. Like that, like they like having that window into like, why does this person who's doing this find it hot? Why do they like it? Thank you, Sean. Yeah, 15-minute warning. If I have not answered your question, please feel free to put it back in the chat again, either in the question box, or you can put it in the direct chat line, or you can use a super chat and it'll highlight it on screen just like Sean's message is highlighted right now. You're doing the funniest poses today. All right, I'm going back to the live chat here. Talking about consent, and can be one of the sexiest things for me. Like, yeah, actively wanting something and having your partner do the same and verbalize it is super hot. Yeah, and like I've actually gotten pretty good at this point in my life. Like, I've dated people before where they still think that consent totally ruins the mood. They, like, actually in this case, they really did think that consent ruined the mood, but like talking and negotiating ruined the mood, and they just wanted to like get to it, and they felt like negotiation and conversation meant that you had to follow the script and it was going to ruin the authenticity and yada yada yada. But I have found, as I've gotten older and I've had different experiences and just played with enough people, that there are definitely people who at least share my opinion that it can be a fun, interesting, compelling thing to do in and of itself. And like, you know, for pickup play and stuff, I definitely still do, like, you know, drier, more formulaic negotiations, because it's really important for those new connections, especially because they're not romantic and they're not sexual, to be very, very clear of the do's and don'ts of like, here's how to handle my body, because you haven't been dating me for a year, so we don't have that level of rapport, so I gotta lay it out really, really, really clearly. Whereas, you know, with a partner, I can talk to them and we can spitball ideas and be a lot more informal with the approach. But then when we do talk about ideas, it's like, it's very romantic, it's very bonding, it just gives us the energy to do the scene, because we're doing things that we really enjoy doing and that we're excited about. And I think by focusing on things that we find enjoyable and that we want to do, and then building in conversations around making that stuff that we find hot and enjoyable happen, it's going to help you tell the difference between a yes that is a very strong yes and like, oh, I'm kind of just doing this to do it, right? Like when it's not making your, I don't know, it's not giving you like brain sparkles, it's not turning you on, it's not whatever your sort of emotional reaction is to kink. If you're not having that when you're negotiating what you're doing, maybe that's a sign that this is either going to be like, okay, we're doing it, it's going to just kind of be what it is, and that could be totally fine. Or maybe it's a sign to like, hey, you know, we should check in because this is not going the direction that we want to have happen. This isn't like coming across to my brain the way that we both want it to. So there's lots of things to think about that. I think by focusing on your internal experience and reflecting that in negotiations, like, it just gives you an opportunity to figure out where your head's at. And that's great. I think we should do that. I've seen more of a trend towards behind the scenes content in adult spaces, which could help. I hope it does. I think peeling behind the curtain a little bit peeling the curtain back. What am I thinking? Anyways, yeah. Removing the curtain, looking behind the curtain, getting to see what's going on behind the scenes and how people negotiate stuff, why they're really into it, I think is really, really, really important. At least give people the option of being able to see that if they wanted to. Okay, my voice is so tired. I was on a panel earlier today. Yeah, definitely your kink is not my kink is a very important acronym to keep in mind. Yeah, the problem with it is like, it's not that people are like talking about kinks and sleeping porn. It's that they make a really crazy headline taking numbers from the general category of sleeping porn or from just a porn website in general to make it seem like, because if I remember correctly, the headline was like 62 million men or something. I'm actually just going to pull up this article headline so I remember what I'm talking about. Because I've debated making a video about this and I was like, I don't really want to. This doesn't sound like a... I have a limit, okay? And like what I'm mentally willing to tolerate for making a video. And this is beyond that. Of course, my browser has been like so slow lately. I just updated it and I feel like since I updated it, Chrome's been like even slower than normal. It's not pleasant. Yeah, 62. Oh yeah, there's even a Snopes article about it. There's a Snopes article about it. CNN reported more than 62 million men attended an online rape academy teaching them how to drug and sexually assault their wives and partners. And then when you look down into it, they were extrapolating from like all sleep content, all this porn, this one website, when really it was actually a much smaller number, and the Telegram group actually had like 1,000 people in it. So 1,000 people is still really bad. That's 1,000 people committing crimes and hurting their partners, and that's fucked up and that's wrong. But 62 million, that should raise an eyebrow. Because how many people are in the U.S., right? Like, that's a crazy, crazy percent, even if it was, like, more international than that. If you put the collective population of, like, I don't know, the U.S. and Canada together and said 62 million of these people are in a rape academy group, that should raise an eyebrow. Because, like, how many adult men are even in the U.S.? Yeah, so if there's 165 million men in the U.S., adult men in the U.S., you're telling me that a third of them, based on how the headline is phrased and the fact this is like a U.S. publication, talking about something and not framing it as like an international problem, if you're telling me a third of men in the U.S. went to a rape academy, that doesn't make any fucking sense, right? So anyways, let's be skeptical of headlines because they're all clickbait. That's the point. I followed forever but never watched live or commented. Wanted to ask a few things last week but decided against it. We'll build some rapport here and there first, I guess. Yeah, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you just want to hang out in the chat with people and get to know folks and ask questions later, that is A-okay. Pretty experienced but facing conflict both internally and externally, so could use common folks to discuss with at points. Well, this is certainly a good place to do that. All right, I'm gonna go down in the chat here. Okay, where was I? My partner is refusing intimacy since December. I need a new partner, and this is terrifying for me. I've only ever had one partner ever. I'm so confused right now. You dated one person, and they don't want to be intimate with you. I get it. It's really, really, really hard, but I want to physically hold your hand when I say this. There are better people out there, and the only way that you will meet them is by having your heart open to be able to meet them. All right. If your partner isn't doing anything that is a need for you, right? Whether it's with like kink or other forms of intimacy or how they communicate with you, if they are not meeting your bare minimum requirements to be happy, being alone is scary because you are attached to them. And as human beings, our brains don't like losing attachments. It sucks. It hurts. It's painful. But please do not be one of those people that stays longer than they should, right? Like, it is one thing to be in a relationship that hasn't been working for 6 months and another to stay for it for 6 years and not get your needs met at the same time. So yes, it's scary, but to be honest, this is a lesson that we got to learn in relationships in adulthood to go through the breakup process. And what I have found generally in life is if something isn't working, if it's not serving you, you don't have to have giant decompression conversations about it. You don't have to have multi-hour long, why is this going on things, but just say, like, I hope you're not living together. I hope that you are not any more intertwined than just you've been dating, but you should just be able to say, hopefully in person, this isn't working for me anymore. I don't think that we should keep dating, and just like leave it at that. They might beg, they might plead, they might be like, yeah, I've been feeling the same way, and it might be really easy, they might be mutual. As easy as breakups can be anyways. But like, don't torture yourself staying in relationships that aren't working for you. Be brave. I know it fucking sucks. Breakups are not fun, whether you're the one who's doing it or the one who's receiving it. I think it sucks more for the person who's receiving it, to be honest. But like, it's a painful thing because losing connections is hard. But I think a lot of the pain of losing relationships can be mitigated if you do have a good support network, if you have friends, if you have people that you can talk to about this, because the fewer other emotional connections that we have, the more we rely on our romantic and sexual partners to fulfill those needs for us. When we know that we can be fulfilled in ourselves and other relationships, the less we rely on that one person, so the less scary it is to leave them. But I also don't think that, like, I don't believe that, like, in order to be ready to break up, you should, like, get more friends first to give yourself the courage. I think that's really just delaying stuff, to be honest. It's just, like, playing the procrastination game on a breakup. So I would not recommend doing that. But there are so many books on breakups on Kindle, on Amazon, on any bookseller you can possibly imagine. There's 50,000 of them. So what I would probably do is I would go pick up and read a couple and just get yourself through navigating the breakup process. I think one thing that's recommended a lot that people like is it's called a breakup because it's broken. And I think that's probably for your case, it sounds like maybe a good one to look up is it's called a breakup because it's broken. Because if it was working, you wouldn't be in this position, right? So just don't make yourself unhappy. You only live one life. You only have so much time to meet people and spend time in good relationships. So don't waste your precious time on earth being in relationships that fucking suck. And I get it. I've been there. Like, this is very much coming from a place of I'm critical because I've been critical of myself for staying too long in relationships that weren't working. And part of it is because I'm polyamorous. And so when you have more than one partner at a time, like, the partner that isn't working kind of like, okay, that sucks, but like I'm with people where it is working. So there's less pressure to like do the breakup thing because you can kind of externally mitigate it to a certain extent. Not necessarily by like, oh, well, I'm going to offload my problems to other people, but just like, you know, if you only are in one relationship and it sucks, there's more of a fire under your feet to take care of it because it's not your only outlet for that level of romantic or physical connection. But when it is, like, God, just don't, it sucks, but you got to do it. You just got to do it. And I wish you luck, but God, just don't, like, I don't know. Just, like, make a plan, stick to it, make it happen, and then report back when you've done it so we can celebrate and you can move on to future steps in your life, okay? Yeah, if you found one partner, you can find a new one. Refusing intimacy and not even discussing what's going on is kind of mean. Yeah, it's like, it's one thing if it's like, okay, you have a long-term marriage, right? You've been together for like 15 years. One of you is going through medical stuff. That party might not be into any kind of physical intimacy. They might be in like actual physical pain from being touched, or they might have to spend all their energy pain processing from like chemo treatments or something. And so they are not equipped to do things that were normal previously. But you both understand that when you've made a long-term commitment, and 2, that it's temporary, and 3, it's caused by something external that you both know of and have control over to a certain extent, right? Like, not even that you have control over, but like you are aware that it's something that's outside of yourself, right? You're making choices around that within your capacity, as opposed to shutting down, not talking about it, and refusing to admit that there's a problem, or things silently fading and then just not, like, just don't date people that can't communicate with you. Just filter for that, honestly. If somebody can't be honest, if they're flaky, if they can't communicate, by God, do not date them. Life is also too short to refrain from pain and BDSM. I don't know about that part. I think if you like pain, sure, but if you don't like pain, then don't do it. Life is too short to refuse to do things that you do like. How about that? Whether it's pain or not. All right, I don't think I have time for any more questions. But yeah, I ran out of water up here, so I need to go and refill my water. Thank you all so much for joining me on this Friday evening. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you would like to, you want to make sure you see me on future Friday episodes. You can subscribe if you haven't already. We don't have no updates for any sort of stream schedule, different stuff. We're just on we're in a pretty normal period. Just gonna keep trucking along here with stuff, and we will hopefully see you in the future. Yes, and if I didn't get to your question, feel free to ask it again next time, because if I didn't answer it, I didn't see it. So there you go. Thank you all so much. I will